Today I'm going to talk about the Volantex 768 or the Mustang P51D. This is a 750 millimeter wingspan RC airplane, and I actually have an interesting story to tell about this one. First, I got the RTF version, which everything is included, and I did actually swap the receiver because I didn't like the remote, and I thought there was something wrong with how the rudder worked. So I swapped the receiver to a Spektrum receiver. I actually did install LED lights, and on the maiden flight it just crashed. It wouldn't work. So, and it wasn't the plane's fault really, because I think I did actually set it up the wrong way. So it's totally my fault. And at the time I just thought that, well, this plane will never fly. It was just rubbish. So I gave the crashed plane to my kids to play with, and I moved on to other planes. But then a few months later I said to myself, well, I will give this one more chance. So I purchased another RTF kit with this Volantex 768, and I just took it for a maiden as it was out of the box with the stock TX. And actually the TX was kind of sucked, but it flew just fantastic. It just glided. The prop had almost no noise. It was just almost silent. And of course I did a few rough landings, but I also discovered that when you actually do run out of power, and I used the included Volantex 500 milliamp battery, when you do run out of power, the ESC just shuts down the motor completely, so you have no power. So I was doing a turn over some trees, and I mean, the power just dropped. So I managed to actually avoid the trees. I think I touched one of the leaves, the branches, and I managed to get it down. I think maybe I broke one of the landing gears, but other than that I think the prop survived actually. So I knew that this one could actually fly good, but the TX sucked, and the ESC isn't really good. So I did actually replace the receiver to a Spektrum AR630, as I think the Spektrum system is much nicer to when you fly. You have a timer, you have all sorts of tools inside. And I flew it, and it was just one of the best flights I've ever had actually. Just the Mustang P51D, it's such a nice designed RC airplane. The original, the real one, was conceived in about I think 170 days, made for the Royal Air Force in Great Britain. And I mean, it just took the war by storm. It just worked great when they actually got a good motor inside. And just as the real one, this RC Mustang just flies great. So I understand why there are so many Mustang P51D RC airplanes, because it's just a fantastic design. It looks great, and to me at least, it's the number one warbird of all warbirds. So you just have to have one. So I actually took it for the maiden. I will show this flight right now. This is one of the first flights I did with this one, the Volantex P51D modified, and I have to say I think this airplane it's just so fantastic actually. If you just replace the receiver and have a good transmitter, and it's such a fun plane to fly, and it goes so, it just floats in the air. I think it's a joy to actually fly this one, and I cannot say much more than let's just watch this warbird fly, because I had a blast flying this one. So here I have the approach then after this really fun flight, and I mean such a nice landing after this flight is just icing on the cake. I have to say, with the modification I've done with this one, I think it's just the best RC airplane I've actually ever flown. It's just perfect. Okay, so that was the flight, and here I actually have a spare. I actually bought a P&P, plug and play version, so I have a spare one because I actually just fell in love with how it flies, and if it will crash I will have one spare to actually put it together. And inside it's very nice to see that you actually get two props with this, because these props it can be difficult to actually find them. There's of course this instruction manual, and there are not many pieces inside. This is the main wing, so it's a 750mm wingspan, and this one also uses just one aileron servo. So the trickiest part, to me at least, when you assemble this one is to get this level. Other than that, I think it's just great. So that's the wing. And here's the actual fuselage, and got a nice pilot. I see this pilot also in the FMS Mustang planes, and also in their Zero. I think this is a common pilot to use. So basically you just take these two parts and shove the wing in like this. It should fit right away. And now there are like one screw to secure it. So that's kind of easy to assemble. And then you have the tail stabilizer, and this also just goes into this place. And then there are actually two screws to mount it, and of course you have to attach the servo rods to the servo horns, And there's a bag with landing wheels, and these just slide into these two. And on my copy, actually, I have. I will show you my copy actually, because this is the P&P, just new one. So I will show how I set up my actual Volantex 768, which I actually fly. So this is actually the one I do fly, which is all mounted with the nice looking 4-bladed prop, and I've also put in LED lights. There are wing positioning lights on each side. There's also a top and bottom beacon slowly flashing red beacon. I actually removed the antenna because it just breaks. And I also put in front-facing white LED lights in one of the holes for the guns on the wing. And I mean, that's about it really. I also reinforced the landing mount for the landing wheels, so there are like clear plastic pieces that are hot glued underneath. So these will help spread, if this will take a hit, the force will be spread with this tape. So and this has really made the landing wheels last much better. So I mean, to cut a long story shorter, I think this is just, to me at least, my most favorite warbird. I know that there are just a plethora of Mustang P51D RC airplanes in different sizes, but to me this is the right size. It's a good price, and you know, if you can have the time and energy to do modifications, I think you will be rewarded with just one excellent RC airplane, and a classic also.